Can you hear me? All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome on this pretty day. It is a pretty day out there. But if y'all are kind of getting tired of the warm weather, if you're not, then you're going to be disappointed because the highs are supposed to drop down into the mid 50s coming the next week, and also a little rain coming along the way too, I think. But it is a beautiful day today. I'd like to welcome everybody out there in Zoom and here in the sanctuary. And again, why are we coming here today? To worship who? Okay, Father or Jesus? Well, both, but Jesus is our main objective, right? Because only through him can we do what? Live eternal life, because we can't get to the Father except through the Son. So good morning. I got a few things to go through today. First of all, I'll start with the most important stuff, crafty ladies. Looky, she's smiling. That's good. Crafty ladies will start up again. 10 January, 10 o'clock, Lilas. We will not be here. We'll be in Houston. So y'all know. Immediately following the service today, there'll be about a 5-minute break between the service and the financial business meeting. So please hang around. Those of you in Zoom, please hang around for the business meeting. It will follow immediately after the service. Saturday, the 24th of December, we will have our Christmas service at 7 p.m. here at the church and on Zoom. It will play again on the 25th at 11 a.m. So please don't show up at the church on Sunday morning, but it will play again on Zoom at 11 a.m. So, we really don't want people to come and try to get into the church because there won't be anybody here come the Sunday morning. But please come if you can on the 24th at 7 here in the church, or join us on Zoom. Saturday, January the 7th, we're undecorating the sanctuary. So again, Vilma and I will not be here. We'll be in Houston, but please come and help undecorate the sanctuary. Carol Burdick's going to bring a list next Sunday for those who might be willing to volunteer to watch the nursery during the services. So we'll know more about that next week, but Carol tells me she'll bring a sign-up list for next week. Our first potluck is 8 January. So please, for those of you who are coming to the church that day, bring all your good stuff. Okay. I mean, there's one thing I know we all like to do. Well, two things. I grew up this way and I don't think anything's changed. We like to eat, we like to chat. So please bring your good stuff. Our first potluck is on 8 January, so put that on your calendar. There's the Coastal Bend Mission Center Youth Retreat, which is going to be held here on the 19th and 20th. That's next Sunday and Monday. And so the church will be used for youth activities, and they're going down to the Riverwalk and caroling and all that neat stuff. So it's going to be a good time. Women's retreat. I haven't mentioned that one in the last couple of Sundays, but don't forget, the women's retreat is February 24th through 26th. And if you go out to the link that's on the announcement slides that Patty puts out, there is the link that you can click to get the registration form if you haven't done so. So please do that if you are interested. Theology class is on Tuesdays for adults at 6:30. The Bible class has moved to Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. So those of you who would like to come to either of those, please do. Theology is on Tuesday, 6:30. Bible is on Wednesday at 7. Also, junior, senior high would be on Wednesday at 7 as well, on Wednesdays. Well, let's see. I told you there was a lot. Well, I am happy to be here today. I hope you all are happy to be here today, and those of you tuning in. And by the way, Jim, I hope you feel better. I got the news, it travels fast. So, and by the way, Patty, I hope you and Jim are over what you had. Is that a yes? Kind of. Okay, we'll keep you in our prayers. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kelly, who will bring us our good news and prayer concerns.
If you'll bow with me, please. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Parent, we come to you today to give you thanks and praises for all the many blessings you've given us. We are grateful for the good news that Bill W. is doing much better and that he's so thankful for the continued prayers. For Kenny B., who was involved in an 18-wheeler accident, Samuel M., who's having convulsions, Nathan H., who's a 14-year-old with heart issues, Sherry S. with health concerns, Jake, who's 4 years old, he has cystic fibrosis and is experiencing some health complications that his doctors are struggling to figure out. Dan A., who's in a lot of pain after having back surgery. Scott J., for sedation for a guided injection in his lower back tomorrow. Be with each of those that we've mentioned and their families and friends, their doctors, nurses, care teams, as they do what is best for each of them. Be with DDB as she mourns the loss of her mother. Comfort her and keep her as she works through this new phase in her life. Also, we ask that you be with those that may not have anyone to pray for them. Let them feel your comforting touch when they need it most. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, amen.
I have one more thing, real quick. Kathleen handed this to me, and I should have opened it when she handed it to me, but I have it now. We have a thank you letter from the University Hospital, and I'll read it. It says, thank you for your recent donation of 150 handmade baby blankets in support of the Child Life Fund. We appreciate you and are grateful for your gift. At University Health Foundation, we are dedicated to providing high-quality patient-centered care while evaluating the patient experience and outcomes. These efforts would not be possible without the kindness and generosity of donors like you. Signed by Sarah M. Alger, President of University Health Systems. So I just wanted to share. Thank you, ladies.
Good morning. I welcome you this morning. My name's Jeremy Boles, if you haven't figured that one out yet. My more beautiful half is in Austin visiting family and friends, so it's just me today. I'm honored to get to preside today here in Shenandoah. And we're in our third week of Advent season. I think you might know which one it is based on the clues, but it's joy. So our theme today is rejoice as well. Although I know personally me, I feel like I'm going to have more joy next Sunday when I'm on vacation and done with school for a bit. I'm sure some people are on the same boat, right? But you lucky retired ones who get it joy every week, right? So this is my favorite week of Advent because joy has always had a very special meaning to me. My grandmother's name is Joy, and on my mom's side, and then my dad's mom, my other grandmother, her name is Joyce, and so that's always been something cool. Talking about my mom's mother, her name was Joy, and she really personified her name, even into the many years when she was struggling with Alzheimer's. So this time of year brings many fond memories of my grandparents. And so if you see me get a little emotional, that's pretty normal. Don't worry about that. It's pretty typical of myself and my family. So that's just a tidbit on me. But anyways, before I start crying, I wanted to start by sharing a video that came to my mind first when I saw our theme, Rejoice. So we'll bring our attention to the screen.
This morning, who have accepted Christ as his Savior and as his Lord, and he will demonstrate his faith in the Lord Jesus Christ by willingly being baptized this morning. He's been waiting on this day a long time. And so, Jordan, upon the profession of your faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, I now baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Go, Jordan.
Yeah. What contagious joy and excitement. Only we can just bundle that up, right? What a gift it is to be shared. So today we're going to start our service by preparing to share some joy with each other later on in the service. Some of you have already got some mysterious index cards with weird patterns on it. So I'm going to tell you about that soon. So I hope you received one of those, and I hope you have some sort of writing utensil. Those of you that are on Zoom, I encourage you to find some sort of paper and writing utensil that you can just share with each other on Zoom when it's that time. But those of us in the congregation, I would like you to look around right now and hold up your index card, kind of show your pattern. I'll do it too. And we'll try to figure out who you might be matching with. So that way that kind of gives you an idea. So look around. Okay, I think I see mine. It might be Miranda. Okay, so yeah, if you need to walk around a little bit, you can do that to try and figure that out while I'm explaining some of the directions. So this is who you will be sharing with later. These are going to be cards that you are going to be preparing that you will share with later. So anybody that has your matching colored card, that's going to be the person you are sharing joy with. It's got colors and a design, so you may have somebody that's matching. If you didn't find anybody to match with, raise your hand and somebody will figure it out. Ah, there we go. Any green zigzags? Perfect. So Earl, you can just tell her to write a nice note, or maybe she can have her son make a nice little drawing. I'm sure that would share joy too. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of time. We're gonna we're gonna put some instrumental music. And I just want you to spend a few moments to write or draw something that you think will bring some joy to this other person. Whether it's a nice note, a funny joke that you know, or your artistic touch. Won't take much to spread a little joy today and around this room. So we'll stay seated at this point. We're not going to share them yet, but we will share them later in the service. How about 4 minutes? If you need more time, you cannot wait to do it during the sermon because we're going to be sharing them before the sermon. So just so you know, you've got to pay attention to Kathleen. All right. So I do want to pause and thank the multiple people that help make this all possible. The people who also have said yes when I asked them to help. So we have Richard Cole today, who's going to be coming up soon to do the invocation. Patty Walker, even though she's not here in the building, she's agreed to help do the prayer for peace. And Lila is also continuing our story, and Sherry and Elizabeth are going to be helping with the Advent candle, and Kathleen's going to be speaking, and then of course our tech crew and everybody who helps run the show and try to make it seamless and as smooth as possible. So thank you all to everybody that's just putting in hard work and making this a joyous time to be here. So we're going to start our service off with an opening and joyous Advent. I'm going to try and stop saying joyous much, but I can't help it. But our joyous Advent hymn, number 427, Angels We Have Heard on High, and that will be followed by the invocation. We'll stand for this.
we do come before you with joy in our hearts today. We come celebrating this Advent season. We celebrate the birth of your Son here on earth and the example which he provided for us and one which we aspire to in our daily lives. Please be with us today, Lord, that we might offer a worship to you, which is pleasing in your sight. Please be with Kathleen as she brings the spoken word this morning, that each of us in our own way might be touched by the words and actions this morning. These things we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Scripture reading today comes to us from Doctrine and Covenants 161, 1b. Claim your unique and sacred place within the circle of those who call upon the name of Jesus Christ. Be faithful to the spirit of the restoration, mindful that it is a spirit of adventure, openness, and searching. Walk proudly and with a quickened step. Be a joyful people. Laugh and play and sing, embodying the hope and freedom of the gospel. And now, would you please pray with me? Loving God, as we contemplate the real meaning of Christmas and the beautiful gift that you gave us, your Son Jesus, let us meditate on the blessedness of that gift to our world and to our hearts all those years ago. Let that love and joy infiltrate our beings to bring us hope for a brighter tomorrow, and to bring us peace for our world, our countries, our communities, peace for our congregations far and wide, peace for our families, our friends, peace for ourselves. Let peace begin with me, as the words of the hymn go. We rejoice with you as we build communities of joy, hope, love, and peace in prayer, music, scripture, and our daily actions. Bring us even closer to your divine presence, enabling us to become inspired and creative in our endeavor to serve you with joy. In the name of Prince of Peace, we pray. Amen. And now let us sing hymn number 420, Star Child.
morning, we will continue the story, The Tale of Three Trees. We'll just do a quick review in case any of you have missed the previous episodes. This is episode 3 today. Remember the first Sunday, the episode that we had at the very beginning, we learned that the 3 trees had dreams of what they would become when they grew up. The first tree dreamed of being a treasure chest covered with gold and filled with precious stones. The second tree dreamed of becoming a strong sailing ship that would sail the ocean and carry mighty kings. The third tree dreamed of staying on the mountaintop where it was, but growing to be the tallest tree in the world. And when people would look up at it, they would think of God. That was the first episode. Last Sunday, when I was gone, Jenna shared with you episode number 2. And we know last Sunday that 3 woodcutters came to the mountaintop looking for a tree that would be perfect for what they wanted to do. And they each found their perfect tree. And it was those 3 trees. And with their shiny axes, they chopped them down and took them away. Today, we're going to focus on what those woodcutters fashioned from the trees that they chopped down and took for their own purposes. So here is the 3rd episode of the Tale of 3 Trees. The first tree rejoiced when the woodcutter brought him into a carpenter's shop. But the busy carpenter was not thinking about treasure chests. Instead, his work-worn hands fashioned him into a feed box for animals. The once beautiful tree was not covered with gold or filled with treasure. He was coated with sawdust and filled with hay for hungry farm animals. The second tree smiled when the woodcutter took him into a shipyard. But no mighty sailing ships were being made that day. Instead, the once strong tree was hammered and sawed into a small fishing boat. Too small and too weak to sail the ocean or even a river, he was taken to a little lake. Every day, he brought in loads of dead, smelly fish. The third tree was confused when the woodcutter cut her into strong beams and left her in a lumber yard. What happened? The once tall tree wondered. All I wanted to do was to stay on the mountaintop and point to God. It doesn't sound as though the tree's dreams are coming true, does it? That's the end of episode 3. Stay tuned next Sunday for episode 4.
So we're going to continue with the same pattern that we've done with our Advent hymn. It's a little confusing because we're going to sing stanza 2 and stanza 1 and stanza 3, but on the slides, it'll be in the right order. It gets too confusing in the book. So we're going to be singing hymn 398, Hope is a Light. Our hope candle's been lit, our peace candle's been lit, and Sherry and Elizabeth will be making their way down to lead us, and Elizabeth will be lighting the joy candle during the 3rd verse. So join us in singing hymn number 398, Hope is a Light.
Peace Advent is a season in the Christian calendar that marks the 4 Sundays before Christmas. In Latin, Advent means coming, and it is a time to prepare and remember the real meaning of Christmas, the coming of Jesus into the world. Today, we light the candle of joy. Joy is a song for all to sing. It challenges us to share with others the joy we have found in and with God, a God who strengthens the weak hands and the knocking knees, who steadies the faithful heart, that all might sing for joy at what God has done and shared with all through Jesus Christ.
Thank you, ladies. So now it's time to see what's happening next in our Christmas play. So this is part 3, the action-packed adventure.
Step forward. There you go. Now, where did we leave off last week? Oh, yeah, with 2 of the world's favorite characters, Mary and Joseph, hearing from an angel about God's plan for them, a baby that was to be named Jesus. I think that essentially catches us up, which brings us to scene 3. Mary, please, Mary and Joseph, we need you back in up front. Scene 3 opens with Mary and Joseph having to walk a long way. They are making a long trip to Bethlehem from Nazareth. Walk around and pretend you're on a long journey, maybe a little hot, sweaty, tired. But don't go off camera. This trip was all because the current emperor wanted to be able to collect more tax, and to do so, he needed to know exactly how many people were from the area. So everyone needed to return to their homeland to be counted. This is why Joseph and Mary were taking such a big trip when they were expecting a child, when it would have been much easier just to stay put with a heavily pregnant person. But that was not to be the case. They had been traveling for a long time, and when they finally did get to Bethlehem, there was no space left in the guest houses. Enter the innkeeper. The owner of our establishment was very apologetic, saying, "I'm very sorry. The guest rooms are already full." Joseph warily explained that Mary probably couldn't have made it up the stairs anyway. Her time for delivering was near. So instead, the innkeeper welcomes the travelers into the downstairs section, apologizing that it might be a little too close to the animals, but at least it's clean and dry. Once you have welcomed them inside and settled them over near the manger. And you can have a seat, and the innkeeper can return to her seat. When the time came for Mary to deliver her child, she gave birth to her firstborn son. Wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in the manger. There's a baby behind the manger. That's it.
That is all there is in the best-selling book about the actual birth of Jesus, our Lord and Savior. 2 sentences in the 102 verses that relate to the birth of Christ. The very reason for this whole celebration and season, there is only one verse that covers the actual birth. 2 sentences. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger. And even then, the second half of that sentence was more about what he was wearing than the birth. It's very much the Hollywood movie version. One minute she goes into labor, the next she is holding her beautifully wrapped, clean, smiling baby. But that is where we leave it this week. Stay tuned for all the visitors who come by to see the baby.
Very exciting stuff. So we're going to transition into our disciples' generous response. So I'm going to start with a reading, but this is your warning. If you haven't finished your little card right now, do it while I'm talking and try your best at multitasking because it's coming up soon. So, Community of Christ upholds the enduring principle of grace and generosity. This means God's grace, especially as revealed in Jesus Christ, is generous and unconditional. This means, having receiving God's generous grace, we respond generously and graciously and receive the generosity of others. This means we offer all we are and have to God's purposes as revealed in Jesus Christ. This also means we generously share our witness, our resources, our ministries and sacraments according to our true capacity. In response to the grace and generosity we have found in God, we get the opportunity to joyfully respond in sharing with others, the church, and the earth of our own outpouring of gratitude and generosity for being found for what the Lord has done. How can you share generously today? During this time of disciples' generous response, we focus on aligning our heart with God's heart. Our offerings are more than meeting budgets or funding mission. We can tangibly express our gratitude to God through our offerings, who is the giver of all. As we share our mission tithes, either by placing money in the plates or through e-tithing, use this time to thank God for the many gifts received in life. Our hearts grow aligned with God's when we gratefully receive and faithfully respond by living Christ's mission. We're now going to take this time to pause and share our joys that we've prepared for each other. We'll then come back, and then I will ask a blessing on all the generosity with a prayer of thanks. So at this moment, stand up, find who you are sharing with, and take a moment to share some joy with them. At around 4 minutes, I will give you a 1-minute warning because we still have an awesome message to listen to. So don't spend too long chatting, right, Earl? This is your 1 minute warning if you're one of those chatter people. Right, so seems it's settling down in the congregation. I hope you enjoyed the time to converse and just share joy. It's been very important that we're doing that. So please join me in prayer as I pray over our offering. Dear Heavenly Creator, we thank you for this morning, this beautiful morning, this opportunity to be here in person or across the globe and connecting with us through gifts of technology. We thank you for the many smiles we've already seen this morning. May we continue to carry that love, that joy, that peace, that hope with us out of these doors and faithfully respond to all that generosity that you continue to bless us with. We thank you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. I'm not going to sit down yet because now I'm going to read today's scripture before we transition into our message this morning. So today's scripture comes from Isaiah 35, verses 1 through 10. The desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom like the crocus. It will burst into bloom. It will rejoice greatly and shout for joy. The glory of Lebanon will be given to it, the splendor of Carmel and Sharon. They will see the glory of the Lord, the splendor of our God. Strengthen the feeble hands, steady the knees that give way. Say to those with fearful hearts, be strong, do not fear, your God will come. He will come with vengeance, with divine retribution. He will come to save you. Then will the eyes of the blind be opened and the ears of the deaf unstopped. Then will the lame leap like a deer and the mute tongue shout for joy. Water will gush forth in the wilderness and streams in the desert. The burning sand will become a pool, the thirsty ground, bubbling springs. In the haunts where jackals once lay, grass and reeds and papyrus will grow. And a highway will be there, and it will be called the way of holiness. It will be for those who walk on that way. The unclean will not journey on it. Wicked fools will not go about on it. No lion will be there, nor any ravenous beast. They will not be found there, but only the redeemed will walk there, and those the Lord has rescued will return. They will enter Zion with singing. Everlasting joy will crown their heads. Gladness and joy will overtake them, and sorrow and sighing will flee away. Now, please join me in our next hymn, which is my favorite Advent hymn. Anytime I'm playing an Advent service, it has to be in there. It's hymn 404, Canticle of the Turning.
My soul cries out with a joyful shout that the God of my heart is great. And my spirit sings of the wondrous things that you bring to the ones who wait. You fixed your sight on your servant's plight, and my weakness you did not spurn. Till from east to west shall my name be blessed, with the world be about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Though I am small, my God, my all, you work great things in me. And your mercy will last from the depths of the past to the end of the age to be. Your very name puts the proud to shame, and to those who would for you yearn, you will show your might, put the strong to fight, for the world is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn.
From the halls of power to the fortress tower, not a stone will be left unstoned. Let the king beware, for your justice tears every tyrant from his throne. The hungry poor shall weep no more, for the food they can never earn. There are tables spread, every mouth be fed, for the world is about to turn.
My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Though the nations rage from age to age, we remember who holds us fast. God's mercy must deliver us from the conqueror's crushing grasp. This saving word that our forebears heard is the promise which holds us bound, till the spear and rod can be crushed by God, who is turning the world around. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn.
Good morning. Thank you, Jeremy, for sharing your favorite Advent hymn with us. I really like that one too. They take that at a pretty good clip, don't they? Yeah, I needed that little time in the middle to catch my breath. And I will tell you, a couple of weeks ago, I know we've been gone for a bit. A couple of weeks ago, the first Sunday of Advent, we were in Los Fresnos singing that hymn with your mom. I really enjoyed that as well. And thank you also for this really nice activity that we did today, where we shared and showed joy with each other. That was a really neat activity, and I really enjoyed that. And I'll treasure my little card, take it home. I would like to share a story about sharing joy that I witnessed earlier this week. It was actually just on Friday. And this is something that happened in my kinder music classroom. I get healthy doses of joy every week in my kinder music classroom. I have little babies and toddlers and preschoolers that come in and just have fun, moving and being with each other and singing and playing instruments. And it's a wonderful shot of joy every day that I get. But this one on Friday was especially poignant, and I wanted to share it with you. Friday, I normally don't teach classes, but I offered one final makeup class opportunity at the end of this period, because I'm now on break until January. And I was supposed to have about 6 kids that day, but only 2 were able to join us. We had another one that was sick, and I'm not sure what happened to the other 3. But anyway, so that was unusual to have a very small class with just 2 little girls, their mom and me. It was very intimate and unusual for them too. These 2 girls, they normally come to class on Monday, and we usually have about 8 kids in there. So there's lots of energy, and there's lots of faces and lots of stuff to keep track of. But this class was just Jackie and Naomi and their mamas and me. And they were just angels in class, but at the end of class, very often I do a circle song. This is kind of a throwback to before recorded music was available. Now we just, pull up our iTunes, or, a couple generations ago, we had records or cassettes or CDs or 8 tracks. So we had lots of ways to bring music into our homes that we didn't do ourselves. So circle dances are a way for a community to come together and sing. We make our own music and we do everything together. It's kind of a throwback to when multi-generations of families lived together. And if you were going to have music at your house, grandpa pulls out a fiddle, grandma pulls out a washboard, maybe Uncle Fred gets some spoons. Everybody sings and they do it themselves. So we were having a circle dance at the end of class. And all of a sudden, Naomi and Jackie were keenly aware of each other because we stand up and hold hands. And they saw an opportunity that they hadn't really noticed before. I think when there's lots of people in the classroom, they're kind of attached to their mom. Well, they felt really comfortable, and all of a sudden this realization dawned on Jackie and Naomi's faces, and they looked at each other and they held out each other's hands and they held hands. So the mamas and I kind of got out of the way and we were over here, and the two girls, and they just held each other's hands and looked at each other, and we were singing Ring Around the Rosie. And they had this unbelievable joy on their face, and they were so excited about reaching out and holding each other's hands, and they would sing along, and it makes my heart kind of break for my pandemic babies because they haven't had this for a couple of years, and these girls are 2 years old. I think this is the first time that they got to see someone their own age outside of their family reach out for connection and experience joy singing in a circle. It was amazing. And it was, it's going to be a memory for me for a long time. So this brings me to my favorite topic, which of course you all know is music. We talk a lot today about singing out with joy. Music and joy go hand in hand for me. I know the last time I was up here, I think I was presiding, I shared a story with you about Beethoven's Ode to Joy. And I'm looking forward to closing our service today, singing Joy to the World. Music, especially singing, feels like an instinctual expression of joy. Sometimes spoken words are just not enough. The hymn, My Life Flows On, an Endless Song, which I believe you were playing earlier today. That was our background music when we were writing on our cars. The hymn asks, how can I keep from singing? Today's scripture verse that Jeremy shared with us, the very end of it, the last verse, verse 10. And those the Lord has rescued will return. They will enter Zion with singing. Everlasting joy will crown their heads. Gladness and joy will overtake them, and sorrow and sighing will flee away. There's a lot of reference to music in the scriptures. Did you know that there are over 1,150 verses in the Bible that reference a form of one of these words: music, melody, song, hymn, instrument, sound, play, blow, noise, psalm, harp, lyre, timbrel, trumpet, horn, voice. I got that off the internet, by the way, and I'm gonna trust that it's accurate because I didn't go through to verify that there were actually over 1,100. So if you want to verify me, go right ahead, but I'm gonna go ahead and trust that one. And then also in these Bible verses, there are different forms of music that are kind of categorized. There's vocal praise to God, instrumental praise to God, music used for merriment and bereavement. Messages of horns. This is kind of like they blow the horn for the army, or they blow the horn to announce the coronation of a new king. And the horns were used for long distance communication. We don't have megaphones. We don't have walkie-talkies. We need to get the message out far and wide. Trumpets of God's judgment, horn of exaltation. Lots of different ways that music are used in the scriptures. But focusing on that first bullet point, vocal praise, there are more than 400 references in the Bible to singing, and 50 of those are direct commands to sing. The longest book in the Bible, Psalms, is just one big book of songs. So much music in our scriptures. Maybe music feels so instinctual to me and perhaps to you because we are each born with a built-in instrument, our voice, right? And we can use other parts of our body for the percussion section. Maybe we're stomping or tapping our thighs or snapping or clapping along. Now, the earliest mention of music in the Bible comes very early. It's in the 4th chapter of Genesis, and it introduces us to Jubal. I think that's how you say his name, maybe Jubal. This is the one and only time that this person is mentioned. So depending on the translation that you're reading from, he is the ancestor of all those who play the lyre and pipe. He's the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. He is the father of all who play stringed instruments and pipes. So he's the music guy. And here's a little family tree. You'll see that Jubal is the son, grandson, great grandson of Cain, one of the sons of Adam and Eve. Now, Jubal's brother, Jabbar, he's in charge. He's the father of like agriculture, and Tubal Cain is kind of the father of tools. And I'm not sure what his half sister is, but anyway, I thought you might be interested to see the family tree for this particular person. Again, he gets one mention in the Bible. So that's an early reference to instrumental music. The earliest mention of song is in the 15th chapter of Exodus. God has just delivered the Jews out of Egypt and saved them from the approaching army of the Pharaoh by parting the Red Sea. The 15th chapter begins with the song of Moses and Miriam, where they express their thankfulness for their deliverance, but also their awe and fear of the greatness and power of God. I will sing to the Lord. He has done great things. He threw horse and rider into the sea. So now, fast forward out of the Old Testament, fast forward to the 16th century AD, and we find Christianity at crossroads. Martin Luther. Martin Luther has a bone to pick with Roman Catholicism, and it turns out that he has pretty strong opinions about music too. So here's a quote from our friend Martin Luther. When man's natural ability is whetted and polished to the extent that it becomes an art, then do we note with great surprise the great and perfect wisdom of God in music, which is, after all, his product and his gift. We marvel when we hear music in which one voice sings a simple melody while 3, 4, or 5 other voices play and trip lustily around the voice that sings its simple melody, and adorn this simple melody wonderfully with artistic musical effects, thus reminding us of a heavenly dance where all meet in a spirit of friendliness, caress, and embrace. A person who gives this some thought and yet does not regard music as a marvelous creation of God must be a clodhopper indeed, and does not deserve to be called a human being. He should be permitted to hear nothing but the braying of asses and the grunting of hogs. That's a pretty strong opinion. A little bit of fighting words there. So Luther felt that music and faith do not have a competitive relationship in the religious tradition, but rather a symbiotic relationship. They complement and even amplify one another. When Richard and I first started dating and we were getting to know each other, we pretty quickly discovered that we were each very passionate about different things. I was committed to music and he was committed to faith. But we also recognized that in every culture, in every age, in every geographic area, there had always been both music and a belief in a higher power. So our interests were not in conflict, but rather could amplify the others. So here's a question to ponder. Can you imagine can you imagine church? Well, maybe even earth too, but can you imagine church without music? Church without hymns to sing together. Hymns are another one of those throwbacks to 100 or, well, actually hundreds of years ago when we didn't have recorded music to play on a USB drive or a video to play over Zoom. We as a community made our own music together using hymns. But I'll ask you again, can you imagine church without music? I'm pretty sure that you can, because about 2.5 years ago, when we first started Zoom services, we hadn't figured out how to do music yet over Zoom. In our first service, we simply had our presider recite the lyrics for the hymns. But in the second service, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember it. Patty Walker was presiding from up here. And for the last hymn that day, she just couldn't keep from singing. And she sang that hymn all alone, a cappella from this podium, sending it out with courage and love to each of us in our homes. It was so instinctual in that moment that she couldn't hold it back. She couldn't keep from singing. And as services have evolved on Zoom, we have tried to continually improve week to week. But music, the area of music, that's been the area that has demanded the most effort and the most time to get it to work, because it's so important. Getting levels right in our living room when we were recording hymns, getting the balance right at the Pharaoh's house when we had Nico and Aaliyah play instruments, getting the sound system correct here in church so that we could share the music both on Zoom and in the congregation. Now, can you imagine the Christmas season without music? No carols, no Messiah sing-along, no deck the halls, no joy. We are hardwired for music, and we need it. In my kinder music classroom, I tell all of my parents that there are 2 pillars. And this is kind of the same way as in church. There's love God and love your neighbor. All the law hangs from these. In our house, we had do what I tell you to do the first time I tell you to do it. All the laws hang from that. In kinder music, every child is musical And every parent is the first and best teacher. So by extension, every person is musical. Every child is musical. So you grow up. I have parents who will come in and say, oh, I can't sing. Yes, you can. You might not be able to match pitch. You might not be able to carry a tune, but you can sing. You can make a joyful noise. It's my job in the classroom to help my parents be the very best, first and best teacher that they can be. Music is a powerful tool for learning. And when learning is attached to emotion, preferably a good emotion, but it can be a bad emotion too. We remember things that happen bad, but we're going to focus on good today. So when learning is attached to emotion, it's more permanent. And music evokes emotion. Oliver Sacks, you may have heard of this guy before. He was a British neurologist, a naturalist, and an author. He wrote the book Awakenings, which was turned into a movie in 1990 that starred Robin Williams and Robert De Niro. Do you remember that movie? He also wrote the book The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. And it's a collection of case studies of patients with brain disorders. He was fascinated about the relationship between music and the brain. And here's a quote from his book, Musicophilia, Tales of Music and the Brain, published in 2007. Every culture has songs and rhymes to help children learn the alphabet, numbers, and other lists. Even as adults, we are limited in our ability to memorize series or to hold them in mind unless we use mnemonic devices or patterns. And the most powerful of these devices are rhyme, meter, and song. Just this past week, I was telling my kinder music families about this, and one of the baby moms said, oh yeah. And she was like, I know the preamble to the Constitution because we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, Schoolhouse Rock. Says that's the only way I know that is because it's set to a song. Music can help us remember words, but what else? It can help an elderly woman who in her youth was a prima ballerina. She can't walk, she can barely talk, but put the score of Swan Lake on, and she starts doing choreography with her arms that she learned 50 years ago. An Alzheimer's patient who doesn't recognize their spouse can recall an entire song, word for word. Because beyond the words, in every culture, in every age, music is a language of emotion. It expresses, arouses, and speaks to our feelings. Music is capable of moving us in subtle and profound ways, with or without words. As David played on his harp, Saul's troubled spirit was calmed. You can find that story in the 16th chapter of 1 Samuel. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 17, Jesus referred to music that made people want to dance or mourn. And God commands us to sing with thankfulness in our hearts in Colossians chapter 3, verse 16. Music helps us to both receive and express God's gifts of peace, hope, joy, and love. The very things that we are concentrating on in the season of Advent. Last weekend, we weren't here, we were in Michigan. And we were there to see Cassandra perform in her last Christmas concert at Western Michigan University. They do this every year. They don't perform it at the college campus. They go downtown to one of the old historic churches. This is a church, you can't tell, but 100-foot ceilings, choir lofts, organ in the back, wood everywhere, and the acoustics are amazing. And they have both an afternoon and an evening concert, and the public is invited. And people buy tickets, and it's a huge deal in Kalamazoo. Both of those concerts sell out, and people come in and listen to the choirs sing, all of the choirs. And then there are times where we join in as a congregational choir on hymns. It's a joyous event. And I wanted to speak very briefly about watching the choir sing. There are some choir directors who want you to stand very still and let the music speak for itself. And Cassandra's choir director, they call her KDA, Kimberly Dunn Adams. She encourages movement, and they are all very lively up on the stage. The entire choir, can you imagine 30, 40 people? They're all swaying together. It almost looks like a school of fish or one organism. They are connected by the music that they are creating. When we went to these concerts, in the afternoon concert, we sat right in the front row. It was great, and we could see the joy on Cassandra's face as she was singing, and all of the singers. And then in the second concert, we were about 10 rows back, and so then we could get a better picture of all of the groups. The vocal blend was a little bit better, but I'll tell you what, that first afternoon concert, when we were on the front row, it was a visceral experience. When they would crescendo and sing with so much volume, I could feel the music in my body. Have any of you ever been to World Conference and sat in the auditorium when the organ is blasting? You can feel the music in your bones. That's what we felt on that front row. I wish I had a video from that concert to share with you, but it's here. It's in my memory, and I will always treasure it. So my prayer for you is, and my invitation to you is to make a joyful noise every day. And you don't need to be able to carry a tune. I tell my kinder music families all the time that if they're self-conscious about singing, okay, think about dads that go in the backyard and they throw a baseball or a football with their kiddos. Are they professional players? No. Do they stink at throwing a football or a baseball? Maybe so, but they still do it. And it's a joyful experience to share with their children. Same thing. You don't need to be a Mormon tabernacle singer or a Metropolitan Opera star to sing with your child. And you don't need to be an expert to sing for joy for yourself. So I told you I wish I had a video of Cassandra's concert to share with you, but I do have another video to share with you, and that's what I'm going to leave with you today. I'm going to leave you with this joyful noise. It has brought me so much joy the past few days. It's an earworm. I've been hearing it and I've been snapping along and thinking about it. It's a video of Audrey and Addison singing with 3 of their friends at an event called Afterglow. This is a little student-led service that happens every other Wednesday. And they'll get together and they'll just sing and play instruments. They'll have people stand up and give a short testimony. And Nico is actually, remember, he's a year ahead of Audrey and Addison. He's the one that invited Audrey and Addison to join these Afterglow services. So he was sharing joy with them. And now they're going to share joy with us. Now, do you remember earlier in the service when I talked to you about we have our own built-in instruments and we have our own percussion session? You're going to see that in this video. So again, this gave me so much joy over the last few days, and I hope that it stays with you the same way that it stayed with me, and that it continues to bring you joy. And I encourage you, make a joyful noise.
coats, with scarves of red tied round their throats, to keep their little heads from falling in the snow. And I turn round and there you go, and Michael, you would fall and turn the white snow red as strawberries in the summertime.
We'll now transition towards the end of our service with our closing hymn, Joy to the World, number 408. And we'll stand for this.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, as heaven and nature sing, as heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let all their songs implore. What fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love.
Now end this service with our sending forth from the book of Alma. Now have we not reason to rejoice? Our joy is carried away, for God has all power, all wisdom, and all understanding. This is our joy and great thanksgiving. We give thanks to our God forever. Rejoice. Thank you all for attending and participating and being part of this service. We will have a 4 to 5 minute break in preparation for the business meeting in just a bit.
I can. Yeah.
Kathleen, can you
Yes,
hear
sir.
me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. Jeremy was right when he said it was going to be an awesome message. I love it.
Thank you, Pat. I can't imagine anything more joyful than a budget meeting. I'm so excited.
If two budget meetings come together, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, if one budget is exciting to consider, two is just, I'm overjoyed.
You could end up with a little one, a little budget meeting.
Well, I'm going to leave the budget meeting. I'm going to leave you all.
Take care. Say hi to Nancy.
I will do that.
Did we stop the recording and restart it yet?